Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in today. Did you know there's a few different ways you can support us? We have a really cool Patreon page that has some great perks for contributing. Also, we have 4 sweet shirt designs currently up on our Store Envy page. Both links will be in the description below. And no matter how you choose to support us, we are so grateful to have you on board. Enjoy the show. What is up, everybody? Here we are again, episode number, drumroll please, 10 of Big Boys and Body Slams.
Ty Dillinger would be so proud.
Ty Dillinger would be so proud we made it to 10. We hope you guys are doing great. We're doing pretty well, even though tonight's show, well, we'll get into that, but we're doing pretty well. Again, my name is Zach. Over here, we got Luke.
Hi, Uncle Zach. Hi, I've got a question for you tonight.
Yeah.
Have you ever fallen off of a 17-foot cell?
Can't say that I have.
Well, I have. And it's awful. I'm not having a very nice day. But you know, what would really give me the best of days
What
is
would,
if our
Mick?
fellow Hulkamaniacs bought a t-shirt. That's the best way for me to have a nice day. Thank you.
And Kyle.
Hey everyone, I'm still here. We did have one shirt this week.
Yes, we sold one shirt this week.
Cassie Holt bought a friend of the podcast shirt, so she is officially a friend of the podcast.
Cassie.
Thank you very much, Cassie.
Yes.
And
Thank you.
I think before we got to start this podcast, we got to talk about some wrestling news.
Yeah, we watched some wrestling over the weekend. Well, Kyle and I watched some wrestling over the weekend.
Luke wouldn't talk to us,
Yeah,
so
we couldn't
he
get Luke
missed
to talk
it.
to us.
Yeah.
But what did we watch this weekend?
We watched Bound for Glory 2018,
Yes.
and it was a show,
What
man.
a show. What a show Impact
Yeah, dude.
put on Sunday with Bound for
Wow.
Glory.
Some of those matches were insane.
There were some great matches, and then obviously all the drama with Austin Aries at the end that just kind of swooped in and happened. Just was the cherry on top of everything. Turns out it was a shoot.
Yeah, and we had a Tommy Dreamer sighting. We had cutters off ladders. We had a match that
A classic 6-man tag match.
You're 100% sure that's a shoot, huh?
It seems to
yeah.
be now. Aries is gone. He wasn't at the Impact tapings tonight.
Petey
and-
Williams said that he's the one that produced the match. Said that Austin Aries is no longer under contract.
So it seems to be, that it's all over for Aries and Impact Wrestling, just like that.
What a weird weekend. Congratulations to Abyss.
Yeah, for getting into the,
Yes.
and then obviously again, there's a big wrestling news, kind of weekend. You know, again, Abyss getting into the Impact Hall of Fame, Bound for Glory,
Amazing.
Aries in the
Amazing.
drama, and of course WWE and the ongoing Crown Jewel situation.
Don't go.
With Saudi Arabia, and we'll monitor
You're
that
going
as
to
it
go,
unfolds.
but
At the moment,
you
they're still
shouldn't.
going, and
You should not.
we'll see how that plays out.
Well,
Hey.
I think it was a better weekend for Impact than WWE for the first time in a long
yeah,
time.
definitely. Even with the Austin Aries stuff, it was still nothing could drag that show down.
Hey, if you're listening to this and you want to see a classic match, you need to check out the OVE, which is Sami Callihan and Dave and Jake Christ against the Lucha Bros, which are Pentagon and Phoenix, and Brian Cage, the X Division champion.
Yeah, they had just a classic 6-man. Just it was basically it was an OVE rules match,
Which is a
essentially-
street fight.
Yeah, a street fighter or tornado tag.
But-
there were just bodies flying everywhere. It was great.
And then the other 6-man, or I guess it was a 6-man, the LAX versus the OGs in
That was
a
fun.
concrete jungle match, which means there was no mat, there was no turnbuckles. It was insane.
Yeah,
Really?
it was really interesting. Yeah, so they basically just had the exposed boards on the ring, and
What?
they took all the turnbuckle pads down.
It was very cool, but you could see that there were some issues with the stipulation. The boards were popping up.
I think just in general all night there were some issues just due to the size of the venue they were in.
Right.
Which I loved the intimate setting. I'm not complaining about that. You could just tell that there
Intimate.
were some challenges that the production crew and the wrestlers had to work around. But
Speaking of challenges with the show, is there anything you want to talk about from the show?
oh man, they had what was it called? The
Undead Realm.
The Undead Realm match between. It wasn't even a match. It
Oh,
was
you
a,
guys didn't
a
show
short
me that.
film. Oh yeah, we'll have to show you that. I'm sure we can find it, but
Shit.
it was Su Young.
Do you guys remember the House of Horrors?
It was like
Yes.
that, but way worse.
It was like the House of Horrors
It
got,
was so
got
bad.
pooped out by the broken universe.
It
and
was so
then you-
bad. It was bad enough that I recommend watching it. If you can find it on YouTube, go and watch it. It is a train wreck.
It's like a Gary Busey film.
It's bizarre.
Wait, what? So what was it again, Allie?
Allie going to the undead realm
to battle Su Yung. There's a part where she stabs her with a knife. She hits her with a hatchet.
Oh, Hatchet Man.
Rosemary shows
Did
up.
Rob Zombie produce this?
It was bad.
He could have.
It was awful.
Hey,
but
yeah, Kyle, go ahead.
I was gonna say, should we get into the show tonight?
Yeah, but real
Speaking
quick,
of bodies flying everywhere. Go ahead.
Luke, where can you listen to us at?
Oh, okay. So you can listen to us on SoundCloud, Google Play, iTunes, not Spotify because they're a bunch of jerks.
YouTube.
And, well, you can watch us.
You can watch us on
listen
YouTube.
On YouTube.
And if you're watching on YouTube, you'll notice we have a new camera angle today. So just something to keep an eye out for. What are we doing today? We are doing King of the Ring, 1998, a very, very legendary show for one and only one reason, which we'll get into. Going into the show, kind of looking at the card, I thought very much this had the potential to be a one or maybe two match card. And yeah. I was interested to watch it to see how that played out.
It was so rough.
No, I've watched this because this is, you guys know at this point, this is my wheelhouse.
Sure.
I love the Attitude Era to death, maybe too much, especially after watching this. I knew that a lot of these matches were mediocre, but it's got the most iconic match of all time in it. So
yeah, should we get right into it?
Do it.
So we open up with a pretty decent video package, kind of spooky stuff. They're mostly hyping up the Undertaker Mankind match as well as the Stone Cold versus Kane First Blood match for the WWF title. Is kind of the focus of the video package. I thought it was pretty interesting. Again, WWE video packages, kind of starting with the Attitude Era, have always been visually interesting at the very least, and this was certainly that.
Yeah, it was good.
And we get right into we get the big pyro blast going off, and the first thing I noticed was, man, I just miss custom sets for WWE pay-per-views.
I agree.
And this isn't necessarily a memorable set, but it's just different, you know. And the pyro too. It just, man, it really made it seem.
I kind of want to know. I mean, I'm sure this is easily looked up, but like that sort of set. If you look up like the budget now for the set, because like everything's a screen, isn't it? Like on the on the ramp and everything now. So I want to see what the costs are just for the set they have now versus like something like that back then.
I bet it costs more now.
Way more. Has to, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And then after that,
that's probably why they don't.
We get right into the first match of the evening. By the way, the crowd is just electric when the opening pyro was going off. Attitude Era crowds were just the best.
Yeah,
man.
you were blinded by signs.
It was awesome.
So many signs.
I apologize, by the way. I had a bit of a cough, so we'll have to bear with me on that. If my voice starts to go towards the end.
So unprofessional.
I know, I'm sorry. So we do go right into our first match, which is the Headbangers and Taka Michinoku versus Kai and Tide, which is we got Funaki.
Indeed.
We got Funaki. We've got Dick Togo.
Dick to go.
And we got the third guy.
Min's Tao.
Which is Min's Tao, and of course the Headbangers are Mosh and Thrasher.
Yeah, what was the manager's name with Kai and Tai?
Was it Yamaguchi-san or something like that?
Yes, you're right.
Yes.
That a boy.
And this is going to be a 6-man tag. So Thrasher and Mins are starting it. There's a power slam by Thrasher right away for a near fall, and then Mosh and Funaki are in, and then Funaki eats a big power bomb, and then Taka comes in. There's a double Bronco Buster spot, so Mosh has him on the ropes. It's kind of it's like a middle rope Bronco Buster essentially. There's a name for it, but I don't know what it is. When you
kitchen sink is the knee, but I don't know.
It's like that, but it's like the crotch area. Mm-hmm. So Mosh is there, and then Taka comes in and does it right behind him, and they're both kind of sitting on Mins like he's a horse on the middle rope. I thought that was charming.
Giddy up.
Yeah. There's a top rope drop kick to Funaki by Taka here, and then Taka gets on the top rope and flies to the outside of the ring, and he flew.
He went really far.
No, dude.
He was up on the ramp, like he was on the entrance ramp. He flew really far and pretty much took out everybody.
Taka was awesome.
Taka Michinoku's the man.
Yeah, he was a light heavyweight champion at this time, by the way.
Yeah, that's right. He was. He certainly was. Mm-hmm. So yeah, they fly outside, and then Dick Togo hits a really nice head scissors outside the ring to Taka Michinoku too. At this point,
Dick to go. What shirt was he wearing?
He was wearing an Iron Maiden shirt.
He was wearing an Iron Maiden shirt, and he looks like he has no business in a wrestling ring, but he was putting on some pretty cool moves.
He just pulled out this big head scissors Hurricane Rana deal out of nowhere.
Well, wasn't that on a baseball slide? That was
it was after the baseball slide.
Well, no, he baseball slid, and then like Taka tried to catch him on his shoulders, and then it turned into the head scissors. Yeah. That was dope. I haven't seen that.
He was impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Mins and Funaki are back in the ring.
There's like a wheelbarrow bulldog double team move to Taka from the High and Tight. It was so one of the I think it was Funaki had him in the wheelbarrow.
Did you just call Kai and Tai like high and tight?
Yes.
Nice, dude.
Nice, dude.
Yes. And then Funaki tries to take out Mins, and then Taka knocks him down. And then both headbangers are tagged at this point, and they come in, and everyone's brawling. There's a big old brawl going on.
I like how they were both tagged at the same time, so they're both coming in.
And so pretty much at this point, all 6 men are brawling in the ring. Eventually, it does get sorted out to where it's Taka Michinoku and Funaki, and then Taka Michinoku gets him in position, hits the Michinoku driver for the win. I thought this was a pretty decent little starting match. The crowd was actually pretty hot for it, and it was just 6 guys flying around doing their thing. I gave it 3 stars.
I also gave it 3 stars. I thought it was a hot opener. I wish the rest of the card followed this predecessor, but it was a good match, and I think people kind of forget about how good Taka, the Headbangers, and Funaki were.
Yeah, for
Especially
sure.
Taka.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Taka is forgotten.
Well, yeah, for sure. Well, and he was a really good wrestler. He just didn't connect with the fans at all. Didn't have the personality.
He was kind of ahead of his time, and maybe even in the wrong promotion. Mm-hmm. Because in WCW, he probably would have been able to, or ECW even, which I think he had a brief run in ECW.
With the cruiserweights in WCW, he would have been electric.
Right, and then his style is perfect for the X Division and the 205 Live style. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
I did give this 3 stars. One of my favorite parts about the old Headbangers matches is when JR and the King would go back and forth, and Lawler always had hilarious comments on like the band shirts that they were wearing, and because JR is just the old country boy. So his quote here is JR, you've got Van Gogh's ear for music. And I thought that was pretty funny.
That was pretty funny.
I laughed.
I noticed
what'd you give the match?
Spoiler alert,
yeah.
Van Gogh cut his ear off. So 3 stars.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
We're all in agreement then on that one.
Yep, good one.
So up next, Sable comes out to the ring, and that was really good, Luke. I thought there was a panther sitting here, and essentially her sole role on the show was A, to introduce Vince McMahon, and B, to slap Pat Patterson in the face, which we'll get to. So basically, she just comes out to the ring, says, "Hey everybody, my name's Sable, and here's Vince
and I'm wearing
McMahon."
a very skin tight.
She's wearing like a Catwoman suit.
Skin
tight
full
leather.
latex. Yeah.
And yeah, essentially her role in the show
Big
is
old, completely natural bosoms.
Oh, totally natural.
Not natural.
She looks like a real life Jessica Rabbit.
Yes, dude.
But like in black and
Barbie,
red.
yeah, she had way too tight of a stomach too.
I'm gonna maybe make a unpopular opinion here.
Yeah, please do.
Never was really into Sable that much.
Me either.
She was like,
back in the day, Sunny was way better.
She was like the. How do I be diplomatic? She was the MILF of the WWF, I guess. But she had that return in like the early 2000s where I thought that she looked a lot more natural. I think she looked a lot more like actually healthy instead of like rail thin and then a huge boob job.
Here.
Yeah.
I mean, good for you, Brock, but
no, good for you, Brock.
man.
Please don't hurt us. You do your thing, buddy.
Yeah, so essentially
Love
she comes
you.
out and she introduces the owner of the company, Vince McMahon.
no music, Vince McMahon.
It's funny, number one, not having no chance play when he's introduced, and number two, still having him be introduced as the owner of the company rather than the chairman or the CEO or one of the other many titles that he had. So he comes out with the Stooges. Briscoe and Patterson come out with him. Essentially, he cuts his promo about how if you came to see Austin win tonight, you're going to be disappointed, just like you're a disappointment to your parents. And then at some point, Sable decides she's going to leave. And this is when Pat Patterson decides he's going to just kind of tap her on the rump. And she turns around, and she does not hold back. And she slaps Pat Patterson so hard in the face.
The piss was gone.
I have another sidebar.
Yeah.
Man, are Pat Patterson and Gerald Briscoe like 2 of the most underrated parts of the Attitude Era?
Yes.
For sure. I love the Stooges.
Dude, they were so funny. Slaughter, too. But Slaughter wasn't on the same level as those other two. Oh, it was so funny.
Their comedic timing was always so good.
Mm-hmm.
Even in this segment, like after Patterson got slapped, Briscoe ran over to check on him and he was inspecting his face. And then there was a part when Briscoe went to introduce Vince McMahon. And after he did that, he wiped the microphone off on his jacket to make sure it was clean when he handed it to him. Little things like that they did.
Yeah, the nuances.
Yeah,
they knew their role.
Effective.
They knew their role and they played it very well.
I've always kind of liked the Stooge gimmick. Right now, Jinder Mahal kind of has it with
the Singh brothers.
And then remember when Seth Rollins had it with J&J?
Yeah.
So
they were carbon copy.
Yeah, I love the Stooge gimmick. I think it's fantastic.
Also,
and I mean these two were the best at it.
Also, I think it's hilarious that the one that they picked to slap Sable's ass is the gay one.
They figured it was safe.
That's
right?
pretty.
Yeah, for real.
It was pretty funny.
So yeah, pretty much Vince just says, sorry if you wanted Austin to win, he's not going to.
But
Anything
you
else to
also, one more thing to add. Vince's promo here isn't like pointed. It isn't pointed like it later becomes when he fully develops that character.
That's true.
Where he's just, just full of venom and seething all the time. Here he was mellow and he was just like, had a smirk on his face as he was just trash talking the whole crowd, telling them how they weren't as rich as him and they were failures.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yep.
Evolution.
Is a mystery.
Yeah, definitely. So after that, we do get our first of 3 King of the Ring matches. This is a semifinal match between Double J and Ken Shamrock. And you know how I knew this wasn't going to be a very good match?
Because of JEFFJARRE
Yep, that's exactly how I knew this was not going to be a very good match, because Jeff Jarrett was in it. No offense to Jeff Jarrett. But.
I never really disliked Jarrett, but like in TNA I didn't mind him, in WCW I didn't mind him, but back then I could not stand him.
Oh yeah.
He was.
This is still long hair country star Jeff Jarrett. This is before slap nuts.
Cowboy hat. The cowboy hat that had the light up 2 J's on it. Yeah.
I loved the douchebag Jeff Jarrett in WCW, and I liked him in TNA. I just thought he did the Triple H thing too much.
Was this pre-guitar shot Jeff Jarrett?
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is early Double J, and in fact, he's just going by Double J.
Kyle, I feel like you're a natural heel.
I am, yeah.
Like, you were able to, even as a kid, when kayfabe, I don't know, I'm assuming here, when kayfabe was still a thing to you, like, you still attached to the heels.
Well, I mean, okay, so I loved the NWO growing up. You know, I loved the heels.
Well, I get the NWO part.
They were bad, dude. Bad guys.
Well, of course they were, but like liking the douchebag Double J who did everything he could to make you hate him.
Okay, do you remember the midget from Howard Stern?
Yes.
Do you remember when he smacked him with the guitar at WCW? That was like a turning point in my life.
Very vaguely.
He like they run into each other backstage, and the little midget, little person, whatever, like goes off on him, and Jeff Jarrett just turns around and just whacks him in the face with the guitar, just crumples him with the guitar shot, and I fell in love with Jeff Jarrett that night.
You became a scumbag that night.
I was like, oh my god, this guy's great. And then I liked Jarrett in TNA as well.
I never liked him, but I understood how good of a heel he was. And TNA was the only time I actually gave him that much respect.
And he made me root against him, which is why I liked him, if that makes sense.
And his theme song was like a perfect heel, annoying theme song.
Yeah. But anyway, on with this match.
I actually kind of like this theme song here. It's kind of like an old vibey country.
Yeah.
So we do get Jeff Jarrett versus Ken Shamrock. This is not much of a match, so it's not going to take me that long to go through everything. So Shamrock comes in, gets the early advantage on Jarrett. He destroys Double J with a clothesline, and then he hits a swinging neck breaker. JJ gets back up, Double J hits a swinging neck breaker to Ken Shamrock, and then Jarrett gets sent outside. He gets slammed onto the barricade. He gets sent into the steps. They go back inside the ring. Jarrett targets Ken's knee, and then there's a distraction in the ring. So Jeff Jarrett's distracting the referee, and then Tennessee Lee, who came out with
Double J,
Jarrett, was able to get Shamrock and wrap his leg around the post, just being the dastardly manager that he is, and which is gonna not really play into the finish, but just kind of further hobble Ken Shamrock and make him further immobile.
I do have to say they did a really good job in this match of making Ken Shamrock look like a beast.
Yeah, they really did.
Because I mean, he was just kind of most of the match he was throwing Jarrett around.
Yeah, that's true.
He was beating that ass,
and he looks good. He looks
so intense.
He had a great look.
Yeah, jacked.
So he recovers from that, and he hits a spin kick to Jeff Jarrett, and then another power slam to Jarrett, and then there's a Hurricane Rana, which Shamrock pulled out of nowhere.
Sure.
That was awesome. I love that.
That was a very good move.
And he hits the Hurricane Rana to him, and then right into the ankle lock, and Double J immediately taps out to the ankle lock.
That ankle lock's on.
And then after the match, Tennessee Lee gets involved and eats a suplex for his troubles.
A belly to belly.
This really wasn't much of a match. It wasn't awful. It was definitely a showcase for Shamrock, and it was the best Shamrock match of the night, I think, that he was involved in by far.
Definitely.
So I give it 2.5. Was not terrible, but for what it was really short, and just for what it was, I liked seeing Shamrock put on display.
So I might get some heat from this one. I gave it a 3. I really
so much heat.
I really enjoyed Shamrock looking like a badass. I really loved the quick tap at the end, because a pro wrestler's gonna tap fast.
To an MMA fighter?
Exactly. Yeah. So they made Shamrock look good. I like Tennessee Lee trying to get involved. I like that Shamrock steamrolled him. It was a good match. And the offense Jarrett put in this match was not bad either.
There wasn't much of it too.
Yeah,
This
it was a
very
slight upper
much.
hand.
This was very much a Shamrock controlled affair as well.
Right.
Yeah, I ended up giving it 2.5 stars. It was quick, but Ken Shamrock at that point, they were building him up. I mean, you'll find out later. He looks like he's in line for a push.
Yeah.
There are a few times though when his wrestling's good, but you can tell that he's still green. There's a few times where he's barely getting their neck tucked on some slams, and you're like, that is a millisecond away from a broken
particularly
neck.
later on.
Yeah,
I got a couple things.
Sure.
One, I think Shamrock could have gone higher and bigger in the WWE.
I agree with that.
I think he could have been a world champion
I agree with that.
because he has the legitimacy behind him, kind of like Brock Lesnar, kind of like Kurt Angle, kind of like
In
anybody.
a different time.
Right, but
Yeah. It was only because there were people. He didn't have the personality, and there were larger than life personalities. Man.
right. And then the other thing is, I love the MMA style that's brought into wrestling. Mm-hmm. I like the Brock Lesnar type matches where they're throwing you.
If you think today's wrestling, I mean, obviously it's a lot of flips and kicks and jumps, but there's a lot more MMA influence today than there was in wrestling back then. And I think the in-ring product is way better for it. You see these people doing these complex submissions and a lot of striking.
Well, and then even CM Punk's whole moveset was very MMA based.
So one more question.
Okay.
Yeah.
WWE Hall of Famer, yes or no?
Ken Shamrock?
Yes.
I think so.
I agree.
He had a huge impact on my childhood for the relative small amount of time he was in the company. He's one of my most remembered characters from the Attitude Era.
Yeah, I loved him.
I just wish he would have stayed
Longer
instead of going getting his ass beat by Tito Ortiz all the time.
Yeah, his return to MMA after that was poop, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was not very good.
Yeah.
I think he had a couple wins, but for the most part, he was just getting knocked out all the time.
Yeah.
And then he just lost a couple years ago to Hoist Gracie, who was like
that was
80.
That was rough.
That was a very bad
What do you
fight.
think, Luke? Is he a Hall of Famer in your mind?
Well, yes. I need to figure out like what WWE's criteria is for the Hall of
There's
Fame.
no criteria.
There really isn't, and it just feels like a ton of people. It feels like a ton of people get in that might not. I mean, I guess I'm mainly just talking about Celebrity Wing and a couple.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
then
Yeah.
let's ask this.
Go ahead.
Ken Shamrock or Coco Beware?
Ken Shamrock.
Ken
Ken
Shamrock.
Shamrock or Hillbilly Jim?
Ken Shamrock.
Ken Shamrock or Jeff Jarrett?
All right. Yes.
Ken
Ken
Shamrock.
Shamrock. Yeah.
So
Yeah, I definitely think he should be in there. I think too, it's just a lot of the WWE Hall of Fame is obviously just grandstanding and what's your standing like with the company.
what have you done for us?
Yeah.
Especially lately.
And there's some of those guys like Hillbilly Jim, they were involved in huge storylines.
Oh, yeah.
And they do deserve it.
And I'm never going to say somebody doesn't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame.
agree, I
because
agree.
Outside of the Celebrity Wing.
Right.
There's some people in the celebrity wing who I won't say on here, but shouldn't be in there.
He might be the current president of the United States.
Oh, I'm not going there.
My name is
I was talking about Kid Rock
Yeah.
because Fred Durst isn't.
Fred
in yet.
Durst should have been in there
That's
first.
true.
Anyway, get to the next match.
Well, hold on.
Oh,
One
yeah,
more
sorry,
thing, right quick. With Double J is I can't remember what In Your House it was, but we might need to find it just because of how terrible it is. He literally Sawyer Brown's Some Girls Do, I think, was like a hit around this time, country band, and he literally performs that song with them on a pay-per-view, and it's
Like the whole song.
yes, the whole
Classic.
song, and it's just as cringy as you'd expect. So
All
they
right.
took that Double J way too far.
Are we ready for the next match?
Yes, sir.
All right, and the next match is another King of the Ring semifinal match. This one is The Rock, who is accompanied by the Nation of Domination, which at this point is Mark Henry and the Godfather.
and D'Lo Brown.
D'Lo who comes in later.
D'Lo
At first,
comes in
it's
later.
initially just
And Mark
those two.
Henry's part of it.
And
Oh, did you
who's
already say
he
that?
fighting?
Dan the Man Severn.
Dan the Beast Severn.
Come on.
Dan the Beast Severn.
So before we get into this, he's a very not good pro wrestler.
No.
But damn, that guy's an animal in the cage. He's still fighting.
No way.
I'll double check.
How old is he? Kyle's going to look on the internet machine. I'll get into the match a little bit, and we can interject with
Dan
Severn's-
Severn is 60 years old, right? And Dan Severn's last fight, I guess it was 6 years ago. But that means he was still fighting at 54 years old.
That's wild.
He has 101 wins, 19 losses, and 7 draws.
What a beast.
And he's only been knocked out 4 times. In 127 fights, he's only been knocked out 4 times.
Well, just goes to show you that not every MMA star can cross over to the world of professional wrestling.
I agree.
Totally flawlessly, because this was not much of a match.
Well, it's funny because his little origin in MMA was shoot wrestling, was it not?
Which I will say, the beginning of this match, he was going for takedowns on The Rock like an
Yeah.
MMA fight, and it was awesome. But then it just went downhill fast.
Yeah. So pre-match, the Nation do get kicked out Mike Chioda is not having any of that. Kicks them out to
Get
the
out
back.
of here.
So again, like Kyle said, it does start with a lot of takedown attempts from Severn. He does get a double leg takedown to The Rock. There's some corner strikes from The Rock to Severn. He tries for a choke, but The Rock gets to the ropes. This is Severn tries for like a sleeper / choke hold, kind of like it was like a modified triangle looking hold. But The Rock has managed to get to the ropes. And then there's a double down after a while, and then really nothing happens in this match for a long time. And then the Nation decides to interfere. And so here comes Mark Henry, and here comes
D'Lo?
the Godfather, and they distract the referee, which allows D'Lo to come up to the top rope wearing like a bulletproof vest.
And he hits a big
Hits a big boy frog splash to Severn, which allows The Rock to get the pinfall victory. This was a nothing match. It was really bad. I give it 1 star.
I give this 1 star. This is one of The Rock's probably worst performances ever.
That was a good frog splash, though.
That was a sweet frog
the
splash.
1 star here is a frog splash that's making Eddie Guerrero and RVD like, wow, where'd that come
I've
from?
always thought D'Lo has had like a top-notch frog splash.
I always thought D'Lo was underrated.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know. I feel like I've read and heard in a lot of Nice. That was spot on.
Yeah.
The D'Lo pose.
If you're watching that on YouTube,
you got to watch the video feed.
Yeah, that was great. But no, and I've heard that a lot from like the backstage people too. The people said that D'Lo's super talented. There was just something missing.
Well, I listened to an interview with D'Lo. It was the Why It Ended podcast, and it kind of seemed like once he hurt draws, that it just kind of sent him backwards.
I think probably professionally and personally, I imagine.
Oh yeah, of course.
Injure one of your competitors like that.
Yeah, I gave this a 1-star match, and I hate to. We all remember Rock very, very fondly, but I'm going to tell you this right now, fellas. Rocky Maivia, he did have some stinkers. Why? Because he was young as hell, and he was facing some garbage ass wrestlers.
But I mean, yes, we could say The Rock had some stinkers, but who didn't?
Right. Well, and this is above all else. This is a shoot fighter, a shoot wrestler wrestling someone who bases their moveset around gimmicks.
But
like, it's a very
that's a good
yeah,
point.
that's true.
They were never going to have chemistry.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen Stone Cold, who's Luke's favorite wrestler, have some bad matches. Hulk Hogan's my favorite wrestler.
It's
He's had
tied with
some
Undertaker.
bad matches. Zach likes Melina. She's had some bad matches.
Melina's never.
Fair enough.
Stop
fair enough.
it.
So after that match, we got a video package about Al Snow, and this video package was awful. I don't know what happened.
It might as well have had that.
It was like a Benny Hill video package. There was this like silly early 90s music playing in the background, and there's no excuse because we were well into the late 90s at this point. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we're grungy now. Thanks.
And so there's this silly music playing, and Michael Cole's doing this narration about who is this Al Snow feller. I don't know why he sounds like an Old West prospector, but
back in my day.
Do you remember like watching Scooby Doo and there'd be like a hallway full of doors and they like run in one door and they
like
run out
that.
the other? This is what this reminded me of, and I'm just thinking of Grandmaster Sexay and Scotty 2 Hotty before they were Grandmaster Sexay and Scotty 2 Hotty, chasing Al Snow trying to get the head from him.
Yeah.
And he's running.
this was awful.
This whole thing is awful.
Yeah, this...
The only good thing about what's going to come up to you is Jerry Lawler as the referee.
Yeah, so I guess we'll get right into it then. This is Al with Head versus Head the mannequin versus Too Much, which is kind of the
predecessor
to Too Cool, which is going to be Grandmaster Sexay or Brian Christopher and Scott Taylor.
That's been.
And as they come down to the ringside, it is announced that Jerry Lawler, who is very anti-Al Snow and for obvious reasons very pro Too Much, will be the guest referee for this match.
Why is he pro Too Much?
Because the late great Brian Christopher,
the late good Brian Christopher,
the late decent
you.
Brian Christopher
Thank
was
you.
his son, and which they always kind of danced around on TV, but it was always intent. It was self-aware. It was self-aware.
Yeah, exactly. They make a bunch of references, but they never come out and say it.
Do you remember when he came back for a brief period of time in like 2005 as a jobber on Raw?
Yes.
And I remember one time, and I had no idea why he said this. God, where'd this idiot come from? His dad's probably not proud. And I had no idea what he was talking about.
Dang.
And I was like, okay, like what the hell?
Who said that?
Lawler.
Oh.
And then he got squashed by like Kangaroo Maga or something, and I was like,
Dang.
Okay, where'd that come from? And then I looked it up, and I was like, oh, that kind of makes sense. He's ribbing his kid, or maybe he's just really not proud.
No, that was the best part about those early Brian Christopher matches was that Lawler would like make jokes about it. Like he would gush all about Brian Christopher, and then when JR would try to confront him like in a weird way, he would just like totally dodge it. Like I don't know whose kid that is.
Good stuff.
Yep. Thanks.
This match was not so much good stuff.
It was too much bad stuff.
Whoa, he did it. I don't have a ton of notes written for this match. There were some entertaining moments in this match, but overall, I do think it did suffer. So we get a nice strike takedown to open the match. There's an atomic drop from Snow to, I believe it was Taylor, to start the match, and then here comes Brian Christopher. He gets in, he spits on Head in the corner, which the crowd does not like. There's lots of cheating with King going on, lots of, you can't pull Brian Christopher's hair, but then when he pulls Al Snow's hair, he turns a blind eye and doesn't notice. Things like that are happening throughout the match. And then there's a sunset flip powerbomb at one point to Christopher, and Lawler does a no count, or he checks the shoulders, gets a 2 count.
He counted 1, and then was poking the shoulders to make sure they were down.
2.
And then he thought about it. 2, goes, pokes the shoulders, make sure they're down, and then he kicks out.
That was not the last time we'd see something like that going in. And then there's like this, so there's this part where Scott Taylor's going for like a springboard dive to the outside, and he botched this thing so bad. And he made it barely to Snow.
He made contact with Snow.
Yeah. He had to reach his hands out like Superman because he was going to go down.
He did not look like Sabu on this one.
Yeah, that was not too good.
No.
And then they get back in the ring. Eventually Head does get tagged in. And which is essentially just Al Snow grabbing Head and hitting both men with him. Goes for the pin, gets a snowplow onto Scott, goes for a pinfall. The King does the same thing. He's not going to count.
Then the King disappears.
He goes to ringside. Where's King going to grab? He comes in with a foreign object. And remember, Head is still technically the legal participant.
And Al Snow is still covering.
Yeah, Al Snow is still covering Taylor.
Scott.
And in comes King back into the ring. And we see Christopher is pinning Head for the 1, 2, 3. And what was that object?
It was Head and Shoulders.
A bottle of Head and Shoulders. Get it? Because the shoulders have to be on the mat, which does allow... Jesus. Too much to get the win.
He pinned a mannequin head in a bottle of shampoo.
I gotta say it was kind of funny.
It was kind of funny.
But it should have been like opening Monday Night Raw or something.
Yeah, no, that's some New Blood Rising ass shit right there.
Yeah, it gets 1.5 for me. I just wanted to rate it above that last match because I really didn't like that last match.
I gave it a 1. There's Jerry Lawler and the ending are the only things that saved it. And the ending wasn't good. It was just kind of funny.
Yeah.
It was like that whole Impact thing with Ali in the Undead Realm. It was just dumb.
I did 1.5. I really like Al Snow.
I love Al Snow too.
I love Al Snow.
And the whole Head gimmick is fucking hilarious to me. I do one thing that we see a few times in this show is people who are so used to having music don't have music.
Like
and
Al
Snow not having the what does everybody want? Head. Like that's BS.
Yeah, it was weird seeing him come to no music.
And it sucks that Lawler. It's cool that Lawler was referee, but it just sucks that he wasn't on commentary because he provides the best quality there. So
wait. Sorry, Kyle, go ahead first. But there's I hope you wrote this down because there is an all-time classic Jim Ross line in this match.
Oh, let it go.
I got so the Head is the legal man. What the hell am I saying?
I laughed so hard. I thought that was great.
That was good.
Yeah, it was good.
I do want to say back on Al Snow though, it says a lot that this guy could just get over a mannequin head.
Oh yeah, Al Snow was great.
You're okay. Yes, it's a mannequin head, but he's also making like it's the late '90s, and he's making a blowjob joke.
Yes,
so people are gonna love.
I understand what head is.
No, I understand. I get that you get it, but I'm saying that's another reason why it got so over. Is because blowjob, haha.
Right, but I mean, if somebody tried that now, it's not going to work. Even back then, it's probably not going to work unless you got
with
the right
anybody
person.
but Al Snow.
Yeah,
Fair
Al
enough.
Snow and maybe like 2 or 3
because
other
there
guys.
were hundreds of people with mannequin heads in the audience too. Like Head was one of the most over people.
I don't know if
show.
it was the first one night stand, but at like ECW shows, I don't even know. Maybe Al Snow was at Barely Legal. I'm not sure. There's some show where everyone in the freaking crowd,
that's awesome.
Everyone has a white mannequin head, and they go wild, and it's
awesome.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, after that, we get this is probably my most disappointing match of the night.
Yes.
Which is going to be Owen Hart versus Xpac.
Yeah, I was really disappointed with this because I was excited.
Xpac.
I like the DX entrance. I got a little too excited and started sucking it everywhere on Kyle's couch.
He was in my face.
I just get really excited when I hear that DX music.
I'm just trying to check my fantasy football score. Luke, stop. And And Zach is
He's
like in my face, crotch chopping me, and I'm like, I just wanted to punch him, give him some dick trauma.
You should have done it. I mean, I had it coming.
Nice.
This was definitely a disappointing match, I thought, but we'll get into it here. So Xpac takes out Owen to start the match right away. There's a spin kick to Owen Hart, big chops to Pac in the corner, and there's a gut wrench suplex near fall to Xpac by Owen
You're
Hart.
on a roll.
I know. And then Owen is suplexed outside of the ring. Xpac gets sent hard into the timekeeper's area. Ooh, that was a good bump. Because there's no barricade back then to shield the timekeeper's area from the ringside area. So he just gets thrown into the timekeeper's table and stuff's flying everywhere. That might have been my favorite spot of the match, actually. And then there's a top rope drop kick to Xpac for a near fall from Hart. Then we get a long sleeper hold spot. X Factor out of nowhere to Owen Hart off an Irish whip that got no heat from the announcers or the crowd, which I thought was kind of weird. And then there's a strike exchange to Hart. And then Xpac hits a big old Bronco Buster to Owen Hart, who kind of sinks into the rope. And this might have busted him open because we noticed he was busted open after the spot. And I don't know if this was here, but after he got the initial bust, the further busts weren't hitting anything.
He stopped allowing Xpac to hit him with a Bronco Buster. So
It looked really
think
bad.
he caught him. I think he caught him bad, and he was like, "Screw this."
Yeah, he might have. It looked pretty bad because Xpac's just like humping the air at this point. Well, Owen Hart just lays there, and then there's a botched top rope. There's a couple botches here in the end of the match. There's a botched top rope spot where both guys end up taking a bump. Owen Hart just flies himself on the back.
It was
I don't know what
ugly.
was supposed to happen here, but I think both men were supposed to end up where they
From the
were.
turnbuckle, yeah.
Yeah, but so it ended up just looking sloppy, and both men took a bump. And then here comes Mark Henry running out of nowhere. He splashes Xpac, and then Vader shows up and just starts brawling with Mark Henry.
Well, Vader ran in and hit like a.
So he did a splash on Mark Henry, and then so there's the part where the mat comes down into the concrete, and he tripped over the mat backwards.
Yeah, and fell backwards. And China's just standing there looking at him like, you guys are doofuses.
So then we're in the ring. Owen now has the sharpshooter sunk in on Xpac. The referee is distracted though, and then China comes out of nowhere, hits a DDT to Owen. Xpac gets the win. I expected way more from this match. The ending was a disaster. I give it 2.5.
It was bedlam, dude.
I gave it 2.25. I liked some of it, not much. I actually kind of dug the ending with the interference. I kind of thought
it was too much. It was just chaos.
It was kind of just chaotic. Xpac's one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. Owen Hart should be in the WWE Hall of Fame. Martha. And Xpac should be in the WWE Hall of Fame too.
Friend of the podcast,
Yes.
Xpac. Let's get him in there.
I love
Sean.
Xpac. Can I go out on a limb and say he's also one of the most underrated wrestlers of all time?
Yes.
I'd buy that. I think just his attitude is what always held him back when he was in WWF.
Well, I don't know. I just feel like he was such a good wrestler.
He was way ahead of his time. Yeah.
Yeah. X-Pac from these years flying around on TV now.
Yeah.
He'd be a main event superstar.
Yeah.
He'd be facing Johnny Impact for the TNA World title.
I think you're totally spot on.
Yo, X-Pac, love you.
Friend of the podcast.
Love you, friend of the podcast. I gave it 2 stars.
Okay.
But yeah, no, that last part's what kind of ruined it for me and got a little Russo-y because it was just Mark Henry, okay, Vader, okay,
Yeah, I agree. I think, and the interesting thing was too, there were shades of what could have been within this match. There were little moments that could have elevated it.
This could have been a 5-star.
Yeah,
it didn't get close.
If they hit to their peak performances, this could have been a 5-star.
They weren't given a lot of time for one. I can see that, but no, they just weren't clicking. They just didn't have that chemistry. And we should mention that this is the Owen Hart that's part of the Nation.
This is my favorite Owen Hart.
The caution singlet.
I love this Owen Hart.
All that stuff.
Enough is enough, and it's time for a change.
Yeah, I love this. This is my favorite iteration, I think, of Owen Hart. So after that, here comes Paul Bear. And
with a lot of yelling.
Yes, he damns the Undertaker to hell for what he's done to him and says Kane's going to win the title.
Yep.
Damn you!
It was great. I mean, it was great. There wasn't a ton of substance to it. Paul Bear was always great. He's mugging to the camera. He's disgusting.
I noticed there's a certain camera angle that's just super close up on his face, and it gets
wide
him
angle
from the
lens
side.
right up on his face.
Yeah,
it's effective.
Only for Paul Bear's promos, and yeah, his double chin's all sinking into himself.
He's wearing a shirt that's 2 sizes too small, buttoned all the way up.
Oh yeah. I was choking
great.
the heck out of him.
It was great.
All right, I have a friend who wants to introduce the next match.
Oh, okay.
The next match, motherfuckers, is those no good New Age outlaws who shouldn't talk before a match because that's not 1965 material versus the great Bob Holly, who's not hardcore,
He's bodacious.
and Bart Gunn before he got knocked out by that fat shit Butterbean. Now give me a cheeseburger, motherfucker.
All right,
the
Mr. Cornette.
heel?
Thank you, Mr. Cornette. You're always welcome on the show, Mr. Cornette.
Shut up, motherfucker. Podcast on 1965.
You have a podcast, Mr. Cornette.
No, I don't, motherfucker.
Okay, fair enough. So then we do get the next match, which is the New Age Outlaws versus the new Midnight Express, which is Bob Holly and Bart
Bodacious
Gunn.
Bob.
Bodacious Bob and Bart Gunn.
Bombastic Bart.
Yes, and they're accompanied to the ring, of course, by the hater of all things fun, Jim Cornette.
Double cheese.
And this, again, I don't... So the new Midnight Express had some kind of tag team belts on. Did we decide this was probably Smoky Mountain?
Probably Smoky Mountain, motherfucker. That's where my boys worked. That's where we got cheeseburgers with extra mayonnaise.
Was that not... So, the Midnight Express originally, were they not NWA?
No, they were NWA, but Jim Cornette ran the Smoky Mountain.
Yeah, so
affiliate.
there was a lot of incorporation. They were trying to make it like a one
Were
unified...
those titles called the Smoky Mountain titles?
Probably. I don't know.
Oh, God, we're uneducated.
All right, so
Uncultured.
this is a match that starts. So Bart and Billy start it. Bart and Billy come in after a short respite of the other two. So this is the ex-Smoking Guns, and they're still calling them brothers at this point, too, which I thought was entertaining.
They are brothers.
Bart and Billy.
The Gun,
Still real to me, damn it.
the Gun Brothers. The Gun Brothers are in there. There's big right hand to Bart, and then the Midnight Express get a double team to Road Dogg for a near fall. Bob taunts Jesse James. He does the suck it, and then he just audibly yells "fuck you" to him, and the hard cam picked it up clear as day. That's the one thing I do miss about the Attitude Era.
There was
just
some
like
good
the language.
cussing.
Yeah,
We also forgot The Rock in the Shamrock match. God damn it!
yeah. I feel like the hard cam or the cameras were always catching The Rock cursing in the ring.
Kevin.
I liked it though. I loved Holly. Bodacious Bob. I loved him just taunting Jesse James with the suck it. Just I don't know. He always had an edge to him, even with that terrible mullet.
And his stiffy clotheslines.
Yeah, he was clotheslining people to hell this match left and right, man. He was hitting some stiff right hands. There's a roll up for a near fall, and then Bob lays into Jesse James with a huge right hand. Then there's a splash that gets countered. Both men are down. Cornette comes in. He hits Billy Gunn with a belt for a near fall, and then he comes back in. He tries again, but this time Billy Gunn notices. The ref's distracted at this point, and he's sitting there with the belt, being Jim Cornette. He's threatening to hit him with it if he doesn't listen to him and lay down. I don't know what he wanted him to do, but he was going to hit him with that belt again. And then meanwhile, what you don't see is the camera pans. Chyna is standing right behind Cornette and kicks him right in the dick and balls.
Punches him.
Oh,
Punches him right in the dick and
Uppercut.
balls.
women shouldn't be allowed to fight men in wrestling matches. That's too new school. Also, I don't like dick moves, Joey Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Cornette. Enjoy your dick trauma.
Yeah.
And then after that,
you.
both the New Age Outlaws come in. They pick up Holly and they kind of choke him on the top rope. And strangely enough, that's the finish of the match.
Well, they do a double stun gun.
Yeah.
They like flapjack him onto the...
Yeah.
Meh.
Yeah, that's literally what I wrote down. Meh. I give it 2.3.
I gave it 2.25. There were some good moves, but it was just kind of... The ending sucked. The match kind of sucked.
Yeah, this didn't do anything for me.
The match did suck.
This show was just not
Easy. Reserve the total picture.
We're at like four matches.
This
in
is
a
match 6.
Match 6, and we've had like 2 good matches.
True.
If that.
Yeah, I gave it I gave it the lowest, 1 3/4.
Wow,
stars,
Luke really didn't like this match.
No, it didn't do anything for me. I mean, the New Age Outlaws is like their intro is always going to be great. One thing we're not mentioning here that I loved, Chyna was accompanying Xpac in the previous match.
That's right.
She's accompanying the New Age Outlaws in this match.
That's
she
right.
literally, and the matches were like back to back. Like there was no time.
And then she comes out at the next match.
Yeah. Hold on, though. She goes into the back. So originally she just had nothing on her head or anything. She had the vest on, the leather vest. All of a sudden she comes out with the New Age Outlaws. She has like Triple H's like backwards cap on. She has shades. So she literally just went in backstage, put these 2 accessories on, and walked right back out.
Yeah.
And then she's going to do the same exact thing.
And then as we're about to see up next, Triple H comes out to the full DX music, which I marked out to again. And
a live performance, right?
No, it was just
wasn't?
using footage from the WrestleMania 14 performance. which I told him, but I don't think he listened. So
I don't like to listen.
Triple H comes out and with Chyna again, of course, for her third appearance in a row. This time he is coming out for commentary, which doesn't matter because he just rips that shirt off anyways. I thought that was pretty funny. He's only coming out to do commentary, but he still took the time to rip off his shirt.
Hulk Hogan the shit out of his
He
shirt.
Hulk Hogan his shirt off, and then he just goes to ringside, and he was the highlight of this match.
I was going to say, I have a quote that I'm going to have to say later that I wrote down. Usually,
I wrote that down too.
Was it the same one?
I think so, but I'll let you take it. Real quick.
Yeah.
Chyna goes. So Triple H is broadcasting with the boys with JR and Jerry Lawler. Chyna goes to the damn Spanish announce table, and
she's just speaking Spanish.
and they cut to her feed because at first I'm thinking because the way she's looking at them, it looks like she's being like, "What the hell are you guys talking about?" But all of a sudden she just starts whole Spanish sentences.
It was awesome,
and it was pretty awesome.
And this isn't the thing I have written down, but then Triple
okay.
H goes something about, she's over there ordering Taco Bell.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh my god.
Come on, Triple H.
What did you have written down? Because it came right after this, right?
Yeah, you can go ahead with it.
This isn't what I have.
Oh, okay. So, so JR's like talking to Triple H. He's like, "What? You're not bilingual?" And Triple H says, "I'm bi a lot of things. Lingual's not one of them."
That was so funny.
Yeah.
It was great.
The thing I had written down that Triple H said, we might as well just have a Triple H
Yeah, we might as well.
quote-a-thon. When The Rock was outside the ring at one time, Triple H looks at him and goes, "You don't want none of me, fuzzy top." And it fucking killed me, man.
Yeah, we should probably say who's in this match.
Yeah, the match is Rock.
Yeah, so this is
and
the
Shamrock.
King of the Ring finals.
The Rock is fuzzy top.
The Rock is fuzzy top. This is going to be for the King of the Ring title, I guess. The title of King of the Ring.
crown,
The crown,
bro.
I'm sorry. And the reason Triple H is on commentary, of course, is because he was last year's King of the Ring winner. So it's a natural progression to have him on commentary.
And he's funny.
So Shamrock comes out, and he is looking insane. Like, literally insane. He
Well-
has this look in his eyes.
You know what's crazy? Is like
Ken Shamrock.
he does not look like he even broke a sweat in the first match.
I know. He's looking
And
fresh.
I mean, I'm sure that's because he wrestled like a 45-minute fight one time, or
Yeah.
fought a 45-minute fight one time. But
yeah, his conditioning at this point, you could tell, is
he is a
is
cardio
excellent.
machine.
So they get right into the match. There's a big kick to the Rock. He rolls out of the ring to get some fresh air, and then he gets sent out again a little bit later. This is when Triple H gets involved, and he spits the water into the Rock's face. The Rock doesn't like that.
And
at
that's
all.
about when he says, "You don't want none of me, fuzzy top."
Yeah.
And then the Rock hits him, right?
Yeah, yep. And then, so now Rock and Ken are brawling outside the ring. The Rock sends Ken Shamrock into the ring. They fight for a bit. Then he sends him back out of the ring. And
This match was basically throwing each other out of the
In and
ring
out of the
and
ring
then
the
throwing
whole
each
time.
other into the
Yeah.
guardrails.
Something interesting, though, this time when he sent him out was Ken Shamrock's hand got stuck in the ropes. Kind of like the Mick Foley.
His neck.
Yeah, but this was with the man's hand, and it was
hangman.
not intentional, I don't think.
Because the Rock's trying to pull it out.
Yeah, the ref was trying to get it out, and he struggled, so the Rock just kind of like kicked his hand out and got it out there.
Dude,
but that was a bit
that
messy.
man was gonna snap his wrist off.
Yeah, that looked nasty.
Yeah.
So now they're outside again. There's a swinging neck breaker to Ken for a near fall back inside the ring, and then a DDT to Ken from the Rock, one of the classic Rock DDTs. There's an elbow strike to Shamrock, which knocks him down for a near fall. Then there's a people's elbow for a near fall, and then another classic DDT to Ken for a near fall. Ken's kicking out everything here. Shamrock hits a nice suplex to the Rock. They beat the count, so both men are down. They beat the 10 count back up. There's a big power slam to the Rock for a near fall. There's a bridging Fisherman suplex that Shamrock barely hit
Yeah.
on the Rock
almost
here.
broke Rock's neck.
Ooh,
Yeah.
man, that was a close one. That got a near fall there. Then another power slam, this time from the Rock to Ken Shamrock, and then a bridging suplex off of a DDT attempt from the Rock, Shamrock countered that into a bridging suplex for a near fall, and then a big old stiff clothesline to the Rock for a near fall. A lot of near falls at this point in the match.
At this point, the crowd's totally into it.
They're getting
though.
into it.
Yeah.
They're not. It's not going as fast as I'm saying it. It's very much
Yeah.
big spot, near fall, rest. Big spot, near fall, rest. That's kind of the rhythm of this match. It picked up a little bit here. Then another clothesline for a near fall. Then the Rock bounces Ken on the top rope, kind of the stun gun, for a near fall. And then Ken sinks the ankle lock in. The Rock's trying to fight it. He's trying to grab the ref for support. Can't do it. Taps out. Ken Shamrock is your 1998 King of the Ring. But you wouldn't know it.
Because he didn't get an interview.
There's no interview. There's no crown.
coronation.
There's no cape. No scepter. Nothing. It's just he wins. The next match.
He gets the hell out of there.
It
Yeah.
was weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping for like a stare down with Triple H or something.
Or something, anything, because it made the King of the Ring look pointless. Yay, I won. Now
I've never been a big King of the Ring fan.
I like
I
it to a
liked it.
point. I love
liked it.
tournaments now, but back then I couldn't care less. I think it's an interesting concept. I just think there needed to be more stakes attached to it.
I felt the matches were always too rushed.
Yeah.
Especially like when they were on Raw and SmackDown and stuff. I always just thought they were
Yeah.
too rushed, and I thought, I thought nothing happened with the King of the Ring winners. Look how many King of the Ring winners did nothing. You had Mabel, you had Shamrock, you had Billy Gunn.
That's Stone Cold Steve
But then you also
Austin
had
guy.
Steve Austin and Triple H, though. Who,
Right, but
And Owen Hart.
It all just depends on how they're booked.
But-
I do wish that there were some kind of stakes, like a title shot or something
Yeah,
attached
and
to it.
and
And
it's-
the Macho King, right? Wasn't that because of that or no? Maybe not. I might be
don't know.
wrong.
I think
might be
Macho
wrong.
King was just because he turned heel.
King
yeah.
Booker.
Yeah, I might be wrong.
But,
King
but
Booker
even,
definitely was.
But like even Owen Hart didn't get like a title run or
Yeah,
anything
that's
after
true.
it.
No, that's true.
And
he got a whole gimmick out of it though.
What's-
that was fun.
yeah, he got a gimmick.
He got over with it.
It was just a lame concept.
Well,
It
this was
didn't-
just a
they
prime
didn't do
example of that
anything.
too, when they were just didn't even try with him after the match, and they just literally cut to
And
the
that's
next
what I'm
match.
saying. It was just kind of.
Well, yeah, that's the
pointless.
thing. If you're actually gonna make it mean something, make a pay per view about it.
Yeah.
But if it's gonna be a freaking formality where this is the
which
winner,
is what this was.
he,
Yeah,
he got the hell out of Dodge.
Yeah.
I mean, there were some.
They
good
must have been
ones.
running low on time.
yeah. Well, should we get into it, fellas?
I gave it 2.5 stars.
Oh
by the
yeah,
way.
I gave it 2.5 stars
Oh.
as well.
Yo, you guys gave it 2.5.
Yeah,
I gave it 1.5. I was bored.
that's all right. We're all entitled to our
Yeah,
own
that was
opinions.
I still
boring.
love you.
Should
well,
we
no,
get-
I think it heated up at the end. And
Yeah,
the
I think
reversal,
It did heat up at the end,
The
and that's
reversal
why I
into the
gave
ankle
it
lock
that.
was cool too.
Yeah. Should we get into this next match?
Yeah, this next match.
do it.
This is hard to
Watch.
score.
This is hard.
It's tied for my
I
favorite.
was mentioning that this is okay. Obviously, this is the Undertaker versus Mankind in the Hell in a Cell. This is the hardest match I've had to score on since we've been doing this podcast for me.
Yeah.
I had trouble with the WrestleMania 10 ladder match, but for a different reason. This match is obviously one of, if not the most recognizable professional wrestling moment ever.
Yes.
Yeah.
And obviously we'll get into the match a little bit, but everybody listening knows what happens in this match.
Good God.
I saw this pay-per-view live, and I don't remember much about it. I remember a little bit of the first blood match.
Well, and how old were you?
I was about 6 or 7, 8 years old.
Okay.
I don't remember a ton about it, but I remember every second of this Hell in a Cell match.
I remember us watching this too.
like it was yesterday.
We had the little black box. Did you ever have that?
No, we
the pay-per-view box?
we watched.
Yeah.
We'd always watch at my grandparents' house, and they had satellite, so we'd get it on satellite.
So we had the black box, so we illegally got them all. And
Oh, nice.
My cousins would always come over and we'd watch
That's
it. And
awesome.
I remember this.
I'm calling
Th-
the
this
cops.
Kyle- thing.
Kyle, why'd you?
What?
Yeah, just admit that straight on. I mean, I'm
I'm
sure
calling the
nothing
police on you,
happened.
Kyle.
You can't do
you're,
anything.
you're busted.
Everybody had the little black box
That's true,
except for
that's
you
true.
two.
You're so busted.
So, yeah, this match is just absolutely legendary, and I guess we'll get into it here. So, Mankind comes out first. He's got his old music, which I love that theme, that kind of menacing, dark. He comes out to the ring with his chair, immediately climbs the cell. He's gonna go win it
Chucks
for
the
a
chair
second.
up
Yeah,
to the top.
first he chucks the chair on his first try, by the way, all the way up on the top of the cell, then climbs up, and then the Undertaker's entrance, he does the same. So the both men are kind of fighting on top of the.
Like to mention here that Undertaker's working on a broken ankle and
Yeah,
then
that's a good point.
climb the cell, no problem.
Yeah, he climbed up the cell. So both men start the match on the cell. The bell rings. They start brawling right away.
And that cage is janky.
Yeah, this top of this
It's
cage is
popping.
bowing, and there's zip ties popping left and right, and they're sprawling up there. There's a couple chair shots. Eventually, they make their way to the end toward the announce table, and then the Undertaker grabs Mankind and just throws the man off of the top of the cell.
Like a sack of taters.
He crashes through the announce table. JR.
By God Almighty, they killed him.
But JR's just putting this over like
Yep.
nobody's business. The EMTs rush out. They're getting Mick
Terry
at this
Funk
point.
comes out.
Yeah, Terry Funk comes out. At this point, the match is believed to be over because Mick is he's just down, man. I mean, this is
Motionless,
before.
yes.
This is now when they do these spots, it's a bit safer. It's still not safe, but it's a bit safer now because they have
It's more
airbags.
choreographed,
They have
too.
airbags in the announce tables, and it's a lot more put on and choreographed. But this was he crashed right through a wood announce table.
No, he didn't crash right through it, dude. He was
He
sliding
bounced off of it, yeah.
Yeah. Into the steel
It's hard to
rail.
watch now, but the worst part is yet to come. So the
Oh,
EMTs load Mick up, and they're getting ready to take him out of the arena. About halfway up the entrance ramp, he stands
By
up.
the way, they raised the cell during this to
Yeah,
get him
with-
out of there, and with Taker on
yeah,
top
so
of
they're
it.
raising the cell so we can leave with Taker on top of it, who's like kind of just standing there like, you guys
Guys?
gonna let me down or not? So Mick does decide he's going to continue the match. The man climbs back up a cell after just separating his shoulder falling through this announce table. He climbs back up on the top of the cell, and almost immediately the Undertaker grabs him and chokeslams him. What was supposed to be a spot where he chokeslammed him on top of the cell. Unfortunately, the panel of the cell gave way, and Mick and a steel chair fell right through the top of the
I
cell.
was gonna say, didn't Mick end up landing like on the steel chair?
The chair landed
The chair
on
landed
him
on his face.
okay.
and
Yeah.
knocked him completely out. So he falls onto the mat from the top of the cell. They give the shot of Taker, who looks terrified at this point.
Yeah, he's like, I just murdered.
Who looks
this
like
man.
he legitimately thinks he killed him because
And JR makes a comment where he looks like he's like, Undertaker looks sadistic or something like
Oh no,
that.
no,
It's
he
like,
likes it. He likes it.
yeah, and you're like, no, he doesn't.
No,
He's
he clearly
scared.
does not, pal.
yeah. So Mick is emotionless. He's
going pee-pee
He's
in his pants.
legitimately unconscious in the ring. The EMTs rush back into the cell.
Oh, Terry Funk's back.
Terry Funk's back. After a minute, the Undertaker gets back into the ring. It's
No,
decided at some point that they can
He
continue.
falls down
Yeah, he's-
through the
yeah.
hole, and you can see him like limp.
But are we done yet?
Not a
hell
chance.
no.
So at some point, they decide that it's okay that Mick can continue. Somehow he's battered, he's bloody, and he can barely stand. Terry Funk gets chokeslammed out of his shoes and sent out of the ring just to give Mick an extra minute. He gets up, he tries to strike Taker, but he can barely stand. He falls right back down, and then he goes into the corner. And then we get the famous shot of the tooth in his nose.
Yep.
And they say he was smiling, but he was actually feeling the hole in his upper lip.
Yeah, it went through his lip and into his sinuses.
And he is just in bad shape, man. He can literally barely stand. I don't know how he's keeping it together, let alone some of the moves he's pulling off. He does manage to hit a pile driver on Undertaker onto the chair, then a leg drop onto the chair. Undertaker goes for a suicide dive and misses and hits the cell. Now he's busted open, which is just funny after everything Mick's been through. Like, this one little Hell in a Cell bump supposed to make Taker busted open after everything Mick had been through in this match at this point. I just thought that was kind of funny. Man,
and at this point, Foley crumbles with one punch.
yeah, he's on wobbly legs. His eyes are glazed over. You can tell he doesn't really know where he is.
Well, he tried to pick up the steps at one point.
Yeah,
and they
outside
were-
of the ring,
shoulder
he
said
tried to
no.
get the steps. He couldn't pick him up. Taker gets him, and then hits Mick right in the bad shoulder 3 times, right in a row too.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
and then
that
we get into the ring again, and it gets worse.
Yeah, so we get back into the ring, and this is a point in the match where Mick Foley decides we had a thumbtack spot planned, and by God, we're
Hold on.
delivering a thumbtack
He's still
spot.
able to. The fact that he puts the chair down and spike pile drivers
Yeah.
Taker and has a couple other good pieces of offense. And the fact that he's even able to do this is just insane.
I know. He does it with a DDT. I mean, this is hard to watch. You can tell that Foley is just completely out of it. And then the thumbtacks do come out almost immediately. So Foley tries getting some offense in on the tacks, but can't do it. And then a second later, choke slam onto the tacks.
Back body drop first.
A back body drop first onto the tacks. That's correct. And then
Then the choke slam.
Taker choke slams him onto the tacks, and then hits a tombstone pile driver.
Away from the tax, thankfully.
Puts Mankind out of his misery, and Undertaker gets the win. You can see why this is a hard match to score, because on the one hand, as a wrestling match, it's not great because the Undertaker's working with a man who's literally half dead at this point.
And Undertaker's on a broken ankle as well.
Yeah, so this is not the most technically proficient match, but if you look at it just
as a spectacle, yeah.
and as just out of pure respect for what Mick went through and put his body through and continued the match, I have to give it 5 stars. I have to. Just because of what... It was like a train wreck. You can't look away. And just knowing what Mick put himself through for the fans that night just gives me goosebumps still to this day.
Yep.
So originally, I was debating on it because I didn't know what to give it. And I think since I gave the ladder match 5 stars for being so innovative and such a big moment, I think I have to give this 5 stars as well. I think it was too big of a moment to give less.
I had no problem giving this shit 5 stars.
Yeah, if you somehow haven't seen this match, the whole thing's on YouTube on the official WWE account. Go watch it. It's
This is tied for me for my favorite match, along with Austin Hart at WrestleMania 13.
I don't understand how Mick survived. I don't. Still to this day, I don't
Just
understand.
well, I mean,
how he was-
just from everything, his pain tolerance, first of all, is beyond what any of us could imagine. His pain threshold is just ridiculous. And then the adrenaline, he's talked about it in his books and stuff, his adrenaline to just keep those bloodthirsty fans satisfied stops at no bounds.
Yeah. I mean, how many men could have kept that match going after the first bump, let alone the second one?
And you want a universal response when your friends try to just keep rubbing it in your face. And I know everyone hears this, all you wrestling fans.
It's
wrestling's fake. Wrestling's fake.
Show them this match.
Show them the damn match, dude.
Also, this is 3 weeks in a row with a 5-star match.
Yeah, because we had WrestleMania 10, then we had the TNA show, and then we had...
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
We're picking it up.
We're watching some good stuff.
Yeah, if you haven't seen this match, go watch it because it's amazing.
I have a whole bunch of comments on this just because it's my favorite. But
yeah.
Let's see. First of all, who the hell thought it was okay to keep these thin chain link ceilings together with fucking zip ties?
Literal zip ties are keeping these things together.
Zip ties are just popping off all over the place. So whoever thought that was going to hold 700 pounds of men is just absolutely ridiculous to me. There was points where JR and Jerry were just, they didn't know what to say, and they were frightened.
I love the moment when they realized that there was a tooth sticking out of Mick's
when they were like, the quote was, what is that? Is that like a piece of table in his nose? What is that? And then JR is literally like, you can hear him look towards Lawler almost, and could it be a tooth? And you just hear,
and then Lawler totally out of character.
Yeah, just like softly. Oh God, you don't think?
Man, yeah, it
was brutal.
I do have. I looked it up just because it's a laundry list. The injuries that Mick Foley suffered in this match.
Let's hear it.
A concussion, dislocated his left shoulder, bruised ribs, internal bleeding, numerous puncture wounds, dislocated his jaw, which was put back in place during the match.
Yikes.
And various reports state that Mick lost between 1.5 to 3 teeth.
The match, that is insane. The match shouldn't have kept going.
After the first bump.
The first bump, probably, but especially after the second.
And we're going to get to
the second was by far the worst.
But he probably should have just stayed in the back for the rest of the show.
If this was today's WWE, that match would have been stopped. And rightfully so. But part of me is so glad that it wasn't, because we got this
legend.
Yeah,
that's never going to go away.
Yeah.
All right.
Also, what's the ratio on Mick Foley actually not landing on his own damn thumbtacks?
It's 0%. Come on.
Yeah.
So after that, we do get a video package hyping up the main event, which is going to be Stone Cold Steve Austin, who is the current WWF champion, against Kane, who is fully covered, and this is a first blood match, so the odds are heavily stacked, not in Stone Cold's favor, because that dastardly Vince McMahon wants to see a new champion crowned.
And we should even note that Kane, at this point, usually has one sleeve.
Yeah.
The other one's, showing off his huge pythons. This time, because it's a first blood match and they want to show you just how much they're screwing over Austin, Kane has, he's completely covered. I think he's got one hand that's not gloved, but that's not going to count.
So I'm not going to go through this match spot by spot, because
it's all the same thing.
It's a lot of it is the same thing. I'll go through kind of the high spots.
Bump.
So basically what this match is they're bumping each other's heads on different objects to try and get them to bleed, which I kind of have a problem with Austin doing, because he knows Kane is wearing this full leather mask. Shouldn't your strategy be to try and remove the mask first, maybe?
I have another question, too.
Yeah.
So Kane's wearing that sleeve, right, so his arm doesn't bleed. JR and King multiple times
say it has to be the head.
It has to be the head or the face.
That's right.
Because it doesn't matter, because Stone Cold's bleeding from his back.
That's true.
Right.
That's true.
Also should mention Stone Cold is wearing a huge ass
cast. Yeah, because he was dealing with staph.
Because he had staph infection and was in the hospital like a few days prior.
So again, this match is just people hitting their heads on things. There's a nice back there. Austin does get a big back body drop onto the concrete that looked like it hurt. He went for I think it was a pile driver, and then Kane reversed it into a back body drop. Later on in the match, we start to get interferences here.
Well, don't forget that the cage started coming down.
Oh, yeah. The cell came down at one point, which was implied that maybe Vince was pulling the strings backstage, which allowed several cell shots. And then Kane kind of was like straddling over the door. And then and then the cell started going back up. And it was like, he was pretty high up when he jumped down. And then the cage kind of just stayed, I think, where it was. Did it come back down again? Or did it just stay there?
It went up when Kane was hanging from it, and then Austin whipped him out of it, and it just never came back into play.
That's right. So early on, the turnbuckle did get exposed, and then kind of a little bit towards the end of the match, Kane does get sent into the exposed turnbuckle, and then he gets sent into a chair, and then Austin hits Kane with something, and then there's a ref bump here, and so who's the ref? For Hebner, right?
Yeah.
It was on a flying clothesline, and Hebner was dead for the rest of the match, essentially, at this point. And then Mankind runs in.
Oh, my God.
Guys,
hobbles in.
Mankind runs in. Why did they let the man run in at this point?
I will mention that, 100 thumbtacks are out of his rear end.
That's true.
So they picked them all out and said, "Go get him, Tiger."
But he still, man, he hobbles in, and then he
With a
tries
chair,
he
yeah.
tries to hit Austin with a chair, obviously to bloody him up. Can't do it. Eats a Stone Cold Stunner. Thanks for coming, mankind. And then he gets back. He's kind of getting back up and recovering. Then the Undertaker runs in
In a shirt.
in a shirt now, by the way.
in this black, yeah, it's not flattering. He's also hobbling.
Very
with a
casual.
Chair.
Yeah, so he comes in, and then Austin and Undertaker both try and hit mankind with the chair at the same time. But what happens is Undertaker hits Austin's chair, which ricochets into his head. He's very obviously bleeding at this point, so we know he's going to be bleeding. And then to wake Earl Hebner up, Undertaker decides it would be a good... Oh, by the way, we never mentioned this. There's cans of gasoline at ringside because Kane said if he would lose the match, he would set himself ablaze.
Set myself on fire.
So Undertaker thought it would be a good idea to wake up Hebner by dumping an entire can of
Suck
gasoline
it.
on him, which he does. And he's the babyface here, which is like, that's not a very... I guess he's a tweener, but
Yeah, he's a tweener.
playing the role of babyface in this match. And he douses Hebner with gasoline, who stumbles up to his feet. He sees that Austin is bloodied, and he calls for the bell, and Kane is the new champion. This was a mess.
If only for a day.
I give it 2 stars. It just, man... It was a lot of repetition. There was a lot of kind of logic holes in it, but at least we got to see some Stone Cold Stunners.
I gave it 2.5. I thought there was some okay action. I thought it was way too much of the same thing, though. I think if they could have, thought of creative new things
Yeah.
to do, it would have been a little bit better. But it wasn't terrible, but it
wasn't the worst thing I've ever
it wasn't
seen, no.
great either.
I might have even overrated this a little bit, but I'm sticking with it. I give it 3 stars just because I don't know. I just found this whole angle pretty entertaining. On one hand, it's like, oh god, this is stupid. Obviously, Kane's not going to lose this match. But on the other hand, you were supposed to think that. So what looks like bad booking is really just solid booking. And I like the way they use the cell. I don't know. There was just some fun spots, and that Austin's a fantastic bleeder.
He really is.
Yes.
And once he gets opened up, he just goes.
Crimson Mask.
Behind Ric Flair, he might be the best.
Oh, Hogan too, though.
Yeah. Hogan, Flair, and Austin, they're the 3 best.
Yeah.
Eddie.
Eddie was good, yeah.
Vince even bled like crazy.
Oh yeah. So that was it. The show went off the air like quite quickly. You can tell this was back in the pay-per-view days when they had very strict timelines they had to meet because the second Kane got... Did you even get a shot with Kane with the belt?
No.
It just
No,
cut to
Kane
Vince.
was on the ground.
Yeah, it just
Yeah.
cut to Vince and then went off and then the show was over.
So what do you give it?
Man, this was again a tough one to score because this was very much not a new match card. This is very much a 1-match card, but that one match is so historic. This takes probably what is a D- show, and I'm going to give it a C.
I give it a C-. Really, the only thing that was great was the Hell in a Cell. Everything else was fair to shit.
Yeah, fair to shit. I gave it a C+, actually. And that is just because, I don't know, I might be a little bit biased towards the Attitude Era, but...
That's okay. Bias is fine.
The Attitude... Yeah, right? The Attitude Era, we all know this, man. If you're a wrestling purist or if you're a certain Jim Cornette...
Motherfucker.
Thank you. You're not going to like this because the Attitude Era was all about the personalities, the characters, storylines, that sort of a thing. There was some decent wrestling here. There were some bright spots, but for the most part, it was the Hell in a Cell match. And if it wasn't for that Hell in a Cell match, this is a damn D-.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I'm definitely... I don't regret watching the show again, though, just because it was a show that I've held so dear to myself for so many years.
Hell, I watch that match annually anyway.
Yeah. I was going to say, I could almost call that match without even... Like, I only think I looked at my notes one time at that Hell in a Cell match because I've seen it so many times. But that was the first time I've seen the show in its entirety since I actually watched it in 1998. So, yeah. What's next, Kyle?
Next week, we have a fan request for Halloween Havoc 1996.
Yeah, we're throwing it back.
And the main event is my boy, Hollywood Hogan, defending the WCW World Heavyweight Championship against Macho Man Randy Savage.
Should be interesting.
We have a tag team championship match between the Outsiders and Harlem Heat.
That's going to be good.
We have a tag team match between Mongo McMichael and Christopher Benoit against the Faces of Fear. We have the most exciting wrestler of all time, Lex Luger, facing Arn Anderson.
No.
Arn better spine buster his ass
We got
quick.
Chris Jericho and Syxx.
Oh,
Xpac.
That's going to be good.
Yeah.
The Giant versus JEFFJARRETT. Diamond
boy.
Dallas Page versus Eddie Guerrero.
What?
And Dean Malenko versus Rey Mysterio for the WCW Cruiserweight
I'm here
Championship.
for it. I'm here for
Yeah,
it. That should be a
yeah.
fun show.
It's going to be a lot better than this show, I hope.
Was this NWO Hogan or is this Red and Yellow Hogan?
Yes, Hollywood Hogan.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in, guys. We're so happy that you guys are listening. We love every single one of you guys.
Buy
a
some
t-shirt.
shirts and watch Bound for Glory.
Yep. Have a good night.
Love you, Hulkamaniacs.